it'd be over. Absolutely.
The soldiers are out there doing tough jobs, and the guided MLRS has long range, and so they're able to, the soldiers are able to operate in safe areas, but yet still accomplish their missions with the guided unitary.
It's a very highly maneuverable supersonic missile, 0 to Mach 3.5 in about 8 seconds.
It's basically employing a ground-to-ground missile system that now the Army is able to use too, and being able to have that capability is really can turn the tide in some sort of conflict.
Nobody's going to argue that a machine gun that can fire 1,000 rounds a minute is anything but lethal. But the gun is old technology. It's been around for centuries.
It goes back to the 1500s, the way we built our first weapons.
Since its invention, the mechanism that fires a gun has changed very little. As a former Navy SEAL, having the right gun on the battlefield makes all the difference. But with seriously sophisticated weapons appearing in modern warfare, it's time the good old gun got a major revamp. And that's exactly what the guys at Metal Storm have done, and then some. Imagine a gun that fires over 1 million rounds a minute. Now, picture a gun that fires a 40mm grenade at a rate of 4,000 rounds every second, and what you have is Metal Storm.
We've been told that we're the greatest advance in weapons technology in the last 200 years. You don't need a bolt, you don't need a firing pin. The only moving parts in these guns, as in all Metal Storm weapons, is the projectile.
Metal Storm is the most lethal, destructive automatic gun in the world. It can decimate advancing armies and rip missiles to shreds. So, how has this terrifying weapon rewritten the rulebook when it comes to guns? The answer lies in its revolutionary firing mechanism. Traditionally, bullets are stored in a magazine and are mechanically loaded into the gun barrel. What makes Metal Storm so unique and unlike anything that's ever come before is there's basically only one moving part, and that's the bullet.
There was this quote-unquote crazy inventor from Australia that was claiming he had a gun that could fire 1 million rounds a minute. Well, I ran into the inventor, Michael Dwyer, in 1997. And anybody that understood ballistics and physics and gun systems knew that was an absolute impossibility. And Mike briefed me for about 20 minutes, and it wasn't making any sense to me. And I thought to myself, if this doesn't get better in 5 minutes, I'm going to leave. So anyhow, he came in and sat down and started to describe the system. Well, in the next 5 minutes, it got better.
Metal Storm's revolutionary design lies in combining the barrel with the magazine. The bullets are preloaded into the barrel where they are lined up behind each other, so it can fire at a much faster rate. And these bullets are different. They're fired using an electronic ignition system. At the touch of a button, a series of electrical signals are sent down the barrel to the bullet. The bullet is then ignited and fired out of the barrel. I went to Washington, D.C. to meet some of the brains behind the project.
The basic Metal Storm concept, as you know, is the barrel is the weapon. So basically, if I wanted to, this could be a Metal Storm weapon. Push a button and fire it, you know.
Art Schatz is vice president of Metal Storm, the designers of this groundbreaking new gun.
Because the weapon is electronically fired and the rounds are stacked, you've either got a lighter weapon or you've got a weapon that's the same size and weight, but yet it's got a tremendous amount of firepower.
General Downing was the head of the Joint Special Operations Command and now advises on the project. By using an electronic ignition system to fire the bullets, Metal Storm has made the most powerful handgun in the world, and the fastest. Firing 3 rounds in a split second before the gun recoils means the bullets can be delivered with deadly accuracy. The electronic firing system has one further advantage. Unlike conventional guns, this system can never jam. In a firefight, gun jams can be life-threatening, leaving you exposed and helpless in the face of the enemy.
The malfunctions that I've had in training, and I've had malfunctions on a battlefield. In fact, I've almost been killed. The kind of things that happen are a firing pin breaks, a bolt goes off the slide, a recoil spring breaks. With that all-electronic weapon, you're not going to have that, so you're going to have a high degree of reliability.
The worst thing that can happen, if a signal doesn't go off, the following round can push the first one out. So you don't have the typical jamming effect of a feeding.
Because you don't have the moving
system.
parts.
There's no moving parts except the projectiles themselves.
By removing the mechanical firing mechanism from the weapon, the designers have not only made Metal Storm reliable, but also the most powerful automatic gun in the world. Metal Storm can fire a devastating hail of bullets in 2 modes. It can unleash a stream of bullets, effectively making an airborne supersonic metal spear that's able to pierce through armor. Its second mode is an unstoppable wall of deadly bullets, fired out of multiple barrels. It's this unprecedented firepower that has created the kind of weapon never seen before on the battlefield.
The idea of rapid fire, while initially when Metal Storm first came out, the 1,000,000 round a minute was the big selling point because, oh my God,
it's never been done before.
Yeah, and we did it, but the logisticians think we're firing 1,000,000 rounds. They say, well, how are you going to carry that many rounds into the battlefield?
Exactly.
You don't. You carry the same number of rounds, but if I needed to put a burst of 10 rounds out or 2 rounds out to do something, an air bursting round, for instance, to intercept some incoming projectile, I have that ability.
Using 9mm rounds, Metal Storm can fire 16,000 rounds a second through multiple barrels, creating a wall of bullets that can intercept an inbound supersonic missile in a split second.
You could take the same Metal Storm weapon and you could use these things to detonate mines or perhaps even incoming torpedoes. So it has a tremendous all-round capability.
But Metal Storm is capable of so much more. Replacing bullets with high explosives, it can fire 40mm grenades at a mind-blowing rate of 250,000 rounds a minute. A wall of these high explosives will flatten buildings and crush hardened concrete bunkers for maximum impact.
And where we've gone, finally, in our latest firings, we're taking actual off-the-shelf existing warheads and marrying to the Metal Storm launcher piece.
Metal Storm can now deliver these warheads with deadly accuracy. It can obliterate a whole battalion of tanks and armored vehicles within seconds. But this weapon is as sinister as it is deadly. Metal Storm doesn't even need to be manned. It can be left completely unattended, a silent assassin waiting for its prey. Its sensors can detect anything that approaches.
One of the things that our sensors give us is they give us much more battlefield awareness of what's going on around us.
Metal Storm sensors feed back valuable intelligence to battlefield commanders. The generals call it situational awareness.
Situational awareness is where is the enemy, you know, not just the one in front of you, but where are the other guys who might hit you in the flank, then where are my guys? And how can I conduct this operation to put maximum hurt on that enemy?
Acting as a guard and strike force rolled into one, it can protect soldiers from surprise enemy attacks. It's a silent assassin waiting to strike. And with its deadly pinpoint accurate fire, it can obliterate any opposing force. Far from being stuck on the ground, this lethal weapon can be adapted to fit on any combat vehicle.
This thing can go on anything that you can think of, because the only thing that you need is a tube to stack those rounds in, and you can literally put it anywhere.
From any ground vehicle to ships and all kinds of aircraft, there's no place Metal Storm can't go. And on the battlefield of the future, it'll network with the other intelligent combat systems. It's both super smart and super deadly. The greatest threat posed to enemy ground force is still artillery fire. That's why cannon artillery like the Army's howitzers still play a key role in today's fight on the battlefield.
Although today's self-propelled howitzers are quite impressive, they do have a problem. With a combat weight of over 40 tons, they're heavy. They lack a certain speed and mobility on the battlefield. Plus, they have to be manually loaded and fired, and that takes a lot of muscle and manpower.
To get a glimpse of the future, I'm on my way to Yuma, Arizona, home of the U.S. Army's testing ground. It's 1,300 square miles of desert and the perfect place for letting off a few artillery rounds without disturbing the neighbors. I've got special clearance to witness the testing of the artillery's newest weapon, the non-line-of-sight cannon, also known as the NLOS cannon. It's fast, it's light, and it's intelligent. It's part of the Army's future combat system. Nothing like it has been seen before. It's so new and revolutionary, the NLOS cannon is still in its early stages of development. The top brass of the U.S. Army want to see the future happen today, and that includes Colonel Tanzi, who's responsible for the Army's entire artillery program.
This is the non-line-of-sight cannon. It's a lightweight, highly mobile howitzer field gun designers have made fully automatic. It can fire a 100-pound round every 10 seconds, and it can take out targets up to 16 miles away, all with the push of a button.
And it's this automated loading and firing that gives the NLOS cannon its incredible firepower. The soldiers load up as before, but then the automation takes over. To understand how revolutionary it is, here's how it's done today.
The soldier's got to lift a 100-pound projectile either from a bustle rack, a storage unit, or from the ground up into the feed tray. Then he's got to put the right charge behind it. He's got to first fuse the projectile, put it on the feed tray, put the right charge behind it, and then fire it. This does everything. Control, weapon is locked and loaded. We're clearing the site.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, execute.
To see what the back of this howitzer can do in uploading ammunition and the stresses that's going to take, the physical stresses that's going to take off our soldiers, is absolutely amazing. I didn't believe it before I came out here.
The NLOS cannon's automation means that it can put down a barrage of rapid fire on a scale that's never been seen before.
It's capable of holding up to 72 charges and 24 rounds. What used to take 21 minutes to fire now only takes 4.
Fired 4 rounds. Took about 8 or 9 seconds each round. Absolutely amazing. Soldiers couldn't do that without killing them.
Clear position.
Gentlemen, choose your weapons. You have high explosive, dual-purpose smoke, white phosphorus, and even smart precision munitions. And they can all be fired from the NLOS cannon. Select the amount of charge you require, then lock and load. The computer control system will do it all for you. It'll even set the fuse and fire the round. As you'd expect with the next generation of cannon, it's devastatingly accurate and smart. The NLOS cannon can track the projectiles once they're launched and make any corrections to subsequent shells seconds before they're fired to ensure that they hit the target.
So when it fires a projectile, it has a radar, a sort of radar on it that can track the projectile from gun to the apex of the trajectory, its ballistic trajectory, and determine where it hits on the ground, and we can make a correction off of that. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm about to find out what happens when you